Hi everyone, Mike Holmes here. This is the Know Your Reno podcast, where listeners will hear from experts from Improve Canada. Whether you're building, designing, renovating, or learning, this podcast is for you. Improve Canada is a fantastic home improvement and education center. You can speak to multiple showrooms about your project needs. Custom furniture, decor, landscaping, general contracting. Get your tiles from one showroom and your countertops from another. You can really mix and match to have the reno of your dreams. Everything you need under one roof.
Hi, my name is Olga and I'm the host for this week's episode. And today we have Mina from Design by Azure talking to us about the top design mistakes that people often make.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Olga, very much. And my name is Mina. I'm the principal designer and owner of Design by Azure. We are an award-winning interior design firm specialized in residential and small commercials. I studied interior design at Ryerson School of Interior Design, and I did interior architecture prior to that. I'm the member of DDA and NKBA. For those of you who don't know, DDA is Decorators and Designers Association of Canada, and NKBA is the National Kitchen and Bath Association.
We are so thrilled to have you here today. I know you're a very reputable designer with a great following, so we're definitely very excited to hear a little bit about your work and how people need to even approach design in their spaces, right? Because a lot of times people don't think about design as a very important aspect of even the building process or the renovating process. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what are the biggest advantages of even working with a designer? Why do we need one?
Mm-hmm. Well, many people think that design is a luxury and they can't afford it. But by the time you work with a designer, you will realize how much time and money you can save on hiring a designer for your project. So for instance, if you're hiring a designer, we went to school and we are part of all these associations that keep our educations up to date. So we know all the new techniques, new materials. So you don't need to spend all those time to go and research for yourself. We do that for you and then we present the whole thing to you. So it's the time that you save in there. And then also on people think that interior design is expensive, but think about all those mistakes that people make along the way. So what interior design does is that we create a whole plan before we start to do any work. So for instance, we start with a discovery call. We get to know our clients' needs and we ask questions. We take a lot of photos when we are at their space, and then we document everything. Mm-hmm. Then we know all the requirements. So we move forward with all these charts that we know how many faucets we need in the space. When we go sourcing for a faucet, we know which faucet is good from our past experiences, and then we pick all those faucets in probably 1 hour. But if a client wants to do that, they probably have to go through like 8-10 showrooms to find just one faucet or two faucets.
Listen, I replaced a faucet in one of my own bathrooms and it took me like 3 weeks on Pinterest, on Wayfair, just to find one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we, in the associations, we have lunch and learns, we have educational sessions, we have to do CEUs for keeping up with the, to renew our membership with these associations. So there's no other way to do it. We have to go through these educations and know about all the new materials and everything. So that's the benefit of hiring a designer.
100%. And I imagine also as a designer, you have to keep up with the building codes, right? You have to work so closely with architects and engineers and any of the charts that go through, I'm sure you're involved in that process. So it's a lot more than just picking out a faucet or picking out a lamp, you have to be involved in, where the wiring goes and all of that.
For sure.
And as a consumer, it's probably not as easy to work with all of these professionals if you don't have the background education that you
For sure. Yeah, there are courses that we take in the school about building codes, and it's not something that everyone would go and learn about it. We also work with trades that offer this services that, like, I know a company that recently started an app for building codes that is out there for our use. Their name is Code Savvy. And I'm their brand ambassador.
Yeah.
So I'm a proud
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that's been big in the trades recently. I've been hearing a lot about that, actually.
Yeah, they're amazing. It's so easy to use building codes the way they did it.
Yeah.
So this is something a trade knows, like an interior designer knows.
Yeah.
Not regular people.
Right.
Even if they get the app, they don't know how to navigate the app.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you're saving so much time, you're saving so much money, and you get none of the headache, right? Especially if you're undergoing a really big project.
And even function of their space, like people need to spend a lot of time ahead of the project, learn about their needs, and sometimes they don't know what they need. But when you tell them that you need, like, for instance, to move this garbage bin from under the sink to the cabinet on the right, and it's for a kitchen that has 2 cooks, or even kids, when they're at home, they want to put a garbage in the garbage bin, but you're washing the dishes. Imagine you're all on each other's way. You can't get to the garbage bin that easy. So these are small things that changes that a designer make into the design of the space. It makes it so functional. I saw so many people creating these beautiful wardrobes, walk-in closets. But then when they go to put their stuffs in, they realize that they have, like, a lot of hangers, and they always fold their clothes. Yeah. They don't need those many hangers. So if you work with a designer, you will get a more functional space.
I'm Mike Holmes. I've been trying to educate people on how to build it right, how to prioritize your renovations, and how to pick products and materials that will last. We love speaking to the Improve experts about how they are supporting the skilled trades. This is important to us, and it takes a whole community to stand behind the effort. Visit improvecanada.com to start your home improvement project the right way. Subscribe to the Know Your Reno podcast to learn more about how to renovate it right. And if you do see me at Improve Canada, please come by and say hi. Hope you enjoy the podcast and keep making it right.
So you mentioned a little bit about clients often don't know what they want, right? And the functionality. So how do you assess that? What's your process like with working with a client to know exactly what they need and what the functional space is supposed to look like for them?
Mm-hmm. So we basically start with a consultation in our firm, and we spent that 2 hours in their space, learning about their needs, observing the space as well. And then when we come back to the studio, we come up with a plan. And those plan elaborates into 2D views, like 2D floor plans, elevations, and then we create 3D views for them to be able to see their space. And then on the presentation day, they have all the 2D views and then 3D views and all the materials to feel, so they can totally understand their space before even they demolish this space. They know how it looks, and they have all the materials to touch and get the feel of the space. Well, 3D views are always a little bit different from reality, but it's pretty close. And it is very helpful for clients to see that before the project starts.
Yeah, of course, especially if you don't know what you want. I think it's extremely helpful for you to be able to visualize exactly what's going to go on in your space. And that way you're able to make any sort of changes before you actually start building, right?
Exactly.
Because redoing something is always so much harder than doing it right the first time.
There are a lot of people who does their space and then they realize it's not functional because they didn't have those 3D views. And believe me, there is a difference between the an interior designer who went to school to do that and a person who is a so-called designer is working with like big box stores that create these 3D views for you. They don't do it for you. First of all, you have to do it yourself, and you have to spend a lot of time, and time is money.
So I know for consumers, especially someone like me that knows a little bit about the space, but not quite enough to know every specialty. There's a big difference between what an interior decorator does, right, versus an interior designer, because I feel like those terms are used interchangeably, but they mean entirely different things and they're entirely different specialties, right? Could you shed some light on what the difference is?
Yeah, so basically, interior designers work between what interior decorators does and architects does. So for instance, if someone is building a house, they start working with an architect, but it's always great to start working with an interior designer from the very earliest stages. So when the architects look at the facade of the building, they see two symmetrical windows. But when working with an interior designer, looking from inside the building, they see windows, but they think about that built-in that is going to go on one wall. And if interior designers and architects can speak to each other at that point, they can move that window 2 inch on only 2 inch, so we can fit built-in in that wall. And then interior decorators are more with furnishings and fabrics and everything. Obviously, everyone can work under the other one, and it's always to choose the best option for the project.
Right, of course. So interior designers that are more involved in the kind of bare bones startup,
exactly,
the entire process, whereas an interior decorator would come in after the space is built. They would pick out all of the pretty things that are going to go in your room.
Furnishings, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much for shedding some light. I know a lot of people may not know what the difference is, but they may be the same person, right? Or they may be different people at every stage of the building process.
There's a very thin line between interior decorators, interior designers, and even architects. So I would say interior designers are somewhere in the middle and work very closely with architects. For instance, if the project, a new build is being built, a client hires an architect first. So when looking at the facade of the building, architect sees 2 windows symmetrical. But when interior designers get involved into the process as early as an architect does, they can communicate. And looking from the inside, maybe an interior designer asks to move that window by 2 inch so we can fit a built-in on that wall. And then interior decorators gets involved into furnishings and drapery and all those pretty stuffs that you want to use after the house is being built. And many times interior decorators also does interior design, and as long as they don't need stamps, they can do each other's jobs. So
right, yeah, very cool. And then so we get involved. Interior designer would get involved in the very beginning of the process, right, and kind of maybe grow with the structure, grow with the building, right? Go through the entire process. And then comes the fun part where you get to pick out everything that's going to go into the room, right? And you really get to see the space come together. So it's definitely really cool to approach someone like you who can be involved in every step of the way and suggest things that you may not even think about that you might need. Yeah. Like, for example, in my kitchens, I need a pot filler, right? But a lot of people don't consider that maybe that's a cool feature, and an interior designer would be able to suggest something like that.
Yeah, a pot filler is a very good example. So if there is 2 sinks in the space, you don't even want to spend money on this pot filler, and you can save on that. Or you can eliminate one of those sinks and add a pot filler. So these are all the things that we discuss in the beginning stages of planning of a new build or a renovation with our clients.
Yeah, especially if you have features that have to go in before all of your interior coverings go in and your interior finishes go in.
Yeah.
Very cool. And especially now, we're in a time where everything is a little bit more difficult, right? So you might have to wait for things longer, or you might not be able to get the features that you want just because they are no longer, available in the marketplace. So what you as a designer, have there been challenges that you faced specifically during COVID-19 in either working with your clients, because no one wants anyone to come over anymore, or especially with the supply chain issues? Could you tell us a little bit about what the challenge might be right now working with an interior designer?
Definitely the long timelines for all furnitures, all supplies. It's crazy, and I always suggest to my clients, if they can do custom furniture, that will allow them to get it much quicker than just ordering something like from China. It takes like a long time to get to Canada, but they can get a better quality. And
usually works the other way around, right? You're waiting for that custom furniture for on and on.
Well, that's a misconception, I would say. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. You can talk to suppliers here. They're pretty good, like Canadian made products. They're amazing. And you can talk to manufacturers of the furniture and be like, this is my timeline. Can you do that? Please do that. And then they usually are very helpful. Yeah. There were a period that we had a shortage of foams that people, custom furniture manufacturers would use in their furniture. But it's getting better right now. It's not the best scenario still, but it's getting better. And I remember at the beginning of the COVID, all designers were pivoting to doing e-design. And I consider that as a temporary solution as well. I did consultations through a virtual tour that real estate had done for a client, and we did a consultation for that client over Zoom, and it was pretty good.
So you no longer have to go into people's homes, right? We have the technology available to make this very easy, and I think this is especially helpful if you might want to work with an interior designer that is not local, right? Mm-hmm. So now it opens up a world of opportunities for you to work with someone who's in Texas or, New York, right? It definitely opens up those borders a little bit more, the more we can put things online.
Definitely. I still am an old school girl that wants to go to spaces. I think there is a whole lot of value on that, but definitely there's no limitation. We all can do like online consultations. Once you proceed with the project itself, there's a trade day that we go on in the project, and we take measurements and everything. So that part is a little bit tricky, and I don't like to put that into my clients, because my clients are the people who are busy, they don't have time, and they want us to take the pressure off of their shoulder. So that's why we stopped doing the e-design for now, but we may bring it back again.
It's nice to know that it's a possibility, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And with the uncertainty right now, we don't know what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now. It's definitely nice to have backup plans for your backup plans. And so lastly, I want to ask you, since we're in Toronto and we're seeing so much new construction out there, right? We have condos going up, we have subdivisions being built, we have new houses everywhere right now in the real estate boom. What would you say is the top mistake that people don't consider when approaching a new build?
Oh my God. People don't budget for furniture. Like, this is something that they don't think that it's important until they want to move into their house and they see that there's no budget left for a good furnishing. Like, you don't want to build a beautiful house in this real estate market that is like booming and it's so expensive, and you don't want to go into your house and don't have proper furniture to use in your space.
And then you're stuck going to IKEA.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I mean, I love IKEA.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're building a 4,000 square foot new build, you probably want to consider what's going to go inside.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't say everyone has to build every single piece of their space a custom piece, but it's good to have quality furniture that you can repurpose, refinish, and if while that you don't like that color, you can repurpose the same furniture, refinish that. If you get inexpensive furniture that is like the quality is not there, you would have to pay for the whole furniture to get replaced.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would say budget for furniture from the beginning stage of building a house.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have considered that because, you know, you're right. You're putting all of this money into a new construction. It's not the same as just buying a turnkey house, right? That you can maybe, or you're going to live in there for 5 years and like that furniture would last you, right? But if you're investing in a new build, it might be your forever home. You might be in there for 25, 30 years and you kind of want that space to grow with you. So you definitely want to consider that in the beginning and really have everything you want in that space rather than having to settle for something else.
Yeah, definitely. And this brings me back to your question about the COVID, and home offices is so crucial these days. Everyone's working from home, and I see a lot of my friends who work from home and their husbands work from home. They have to be into different level of the house to be able to do all those meetings online, and they don't distract each other. So plan on having a very good office space for your work and your spouse's work or your kids, anyone who's living in that space, and make it, if you're building it, make it acoustic.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an entire episode on how to do just that with acoustics.
That's great.
So because I do think that home offices are now going to, it's no longer a nice to have, it's a need to have, right? Yeah. Because I feel like this work from home wave is going to diminish, but it's not really going to ever leave. So any new construction, I think we're going to see a lot of dedicated home office spaces being built. And that's also something to consider, right? Especially if you are right, if you do have kids, those kids are going to grow up, those kids are going to go to school, they're going to go to college, they're going to need a place, a dedicated place. So if you have 4 or 5 people working at the same time, you know, it's going to be very tough if you don't have the dedicated space. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mina. You've given us so much information, a lot of things to think about when you are approaching either a new construction or you're renovating. There's definitely things that I think are going to be very enlightening in this episode for a lot of people, because it's not something that we really ever discuss as much as we should.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. And
of course, if you want to get in touch with Mina, if you want to book an appointment for your next design project, we will have all the links down in the description below. You can visit her lovely showroom. You can get to know her and start the planning process.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to help everyone with a beautiful functional space.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Know Your Reno. If you would like to get in touch with today's speaker or any of our large number of showrooms at Improve Canada, please check the description for a link to book an appointment with us at Canada's largest home improvement center. Don't forget to keep in touch with us on our socials, and we will see you next week for another value-packed episode to make your next home renovation a breeze.